back. I'm Katie Couric, along with Tavis Smiley, who has been joining me for this hour. The September issue of Ebony magazine featured 4 different covers as a tribute to Trayvon Martin. They included his family, director Spike Lee and his son Jackson, basketball star Dwayne Wade and his sons Zaire and Zion, and Boris Kodjoe and his son Nicholas. Please welcome Boris Kodjoe. Nice to see you, Boris. So, first of all, why was it so important to you, Boris, to be part of this project?
I'm a father. I have 2 children. I have a young son, Nicholas, who's 6 years old. And I was touched by that. And I was also, I realized that I had to call my father and my father-in-law to ask them about 15, 60 years ago and what they went through, just because I wanted to have a dialogue with my child. And I was lacking the vocabulary. I did not know how to address this issue with Nicholas, who was 6 years old. And I was frustrated about that. And also, I wanted to make sure that people are reminded that over 3,000 young black men are killed at the hand of a gun every single year. And that we have come to accept that as a norm. And I didn't want to accept that any further. I was guilty of that as well. So when Amy called me and asked me to be a part of that, I couldn't wait.
You are the product of a biracial relationship. We were talking earlier in this show about interracial couples, and they are now more prevalent than ever. How did that inform your views or develop your views on race in America?
It's very interesting because what Professor Williams said earlier was also very interesting to me, because I grew up in Germany. My mother's white, my father's from Africa. The whole thing about walking in others' shoes is a very important factor in this discussion, because, like, Katie, you can't possibly know what I feel like in those circumstances. And I think it's not fair to pretend to understand. I cannot go to a rape victim and say, I understand. It's impossible. What I can do is be sympathetic to your plight. I can try to support you. I can be accepting and respecting of you or of your situation, and then we can go from there. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a very good point.
Well, that's very well said. Amy Du Bois Barnett is the editor-in-chief of Ebony magazine. And Amy, I understand when these issues came out, you know, the various covers, it ignited a huge debate on Twitter.
It did.
What kind of things were people saying?
My core readers and most African Americans understood what we were doing with the covers and were very appreciative and grateful that we were continuing this conversation about race. Then there was a whole other factor of people who took that opportunity to basically display shocking levels frankly, of racism, and to hurl racial epithets, you know, at the subjects of the covers and at African Americans in general. And so it just ignited a huge firestorm across social media, which was a little bit unexpected, to be honest.
What was your goal?
I wanted to create images that would represent the fact that we are looking at African American boys and we are assuming guilt, and that we as African Americans and that people in this country will no longer take that anymore.
It's almost like we've become completely nonchalant about violence because we see it everywhere. Our kids see it everywhere. I think we as parents, teachers, churches, community leaders have to be proactive in establishing new paradigms around violence and making sure that kids understand that this is not okay. This is not acceptable, because when it comes to making a choice in those situations, hopefully, if we are proactive as those leaders and teachers and parents, our child will make a different choice. And that's the way to be proactive and not just talk about it.
It's a huge problem and many layers, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be chipping away at those layers little by little. Boris, thank you so much. Amy, thank you as well, and we'll be back right after this.